A phone vibrates on the asphalt between your feet. Cars rush past. Wind cuts through your jacket. Her name lights the screen again, and you don't pick it up. You just watch it ring. That tiny moment, your still hand, her unanswered call, is where the balance shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, dangerously. You feel it in your chest, a strange calm, a strange power. Because for the first time, she can't read you. And that's when she starts to lose control. You think she wants closeness. You think she wants reassurance. You think the panic is about love. Here's the truth. It's about access. When she can predict you, she relaxes. When she can reach you, she breathes easy. When she knows exactly what you feel, she feels safe. The moment that certainty disappears, her nervous system lights up like an alarm. This isn't random, it's psychology. Human attraction is wired to patterns. We track behavior to feel secure. We map people. We build internal models. If I say this, he'll do that. If I pull away, he'll chase. If I cry, he'll soften. It becomes a system, a rhythm, a script she believes she controls. And then one day, you stop performing. You respond slower. You reveal less. You stop explaining yourself. Not out of cruelty, out of clarity. You're no longer trying to manage her emotions, you're managing your own. That silence terrifies her more than anger ever could. Let me explain why. Anger is readable. Jealousy is readable. Desperation is readable. Even your pain gives her information. It tells her she still occupies your mind. It tells her that connection is alive. But unreadability? That's a locked door with no handle. She can't measure where she stands, and the human brain hates uncertainty more than rejection. Uncertainty feels like falling. So she pushes. She texts more. She asks sharper questions. Her tone changes. Suddenly she's emotional, reactive, probing. You think she's being dramatic. You think she's overthinking. That's not love. That's control slipping through her fingers. Control doesn't always look like dominance. Sometimes it looks like anxiety. Sometimes it looks like attachment. Sometimes it looks like a woman trying desperately to restore a pattern that made her feel safe. When you become unreadable, you remove the pattern. And now she's negotiating in the dark. Watch what happens next. She starts testing you. Not consciously, not like a villain in a movie. This is instinct. She'll bring up old memories to see if you still care. She'll mention other men to provoke jealousy. She'll go cold to see if you chase. Every move is a question disguised as behavior. Do I still have you? Your unreadability forces her into exposure. She has to reveal her need to regain balance. Ironically, the less you react, the more she reveals. This is her paradox of emotional power. The one who needs clarity less holds the frame. And that frame is what she's fighting to re-enter. Picture a real moment. A man leaves a conversation mid-argument, not slamming doors, not shouting. He simply says, "We'll talk later," and walks into the night air. His phone buzzes behind him, paragraph after paragraph, accusations, pleas, confusion. He reads none of it. Not because he's punishing her, because he refuses to negotiate while emotional. Hours pass. Her messages change tone. The anger melts into vulnerability. The accusations become questions. The questions become admissions. I don't like not knowing what you're thinking. That's the crack in the armor. She's not afraid of losing the argument. She's afraid of losing visibility into your mind. When she can't map your internal state, she feels powerless. And powerlessness triggers the same neural circuits as physical danger. This isn't weakness, it's biology. But biology doesn't excuse manipulation. Because when fear drives behavior, people will reach for control. They'll guilt you, seduce you, challenge you, anything to force a reaction that restores certainty. If you break and explain everything, the system resets. If you stay grounded, the system rewrites. This is where most men fail. They confuse calm with cruelty. They think being unreadable means being cold. It doesn't. Coldness is reactive. It's emotional armor. True unreadability is composure. It's knowing what you feel without advertising it for validation. You're not hiding. You're contained. That containment is magnetic and destabilizing at the same time. She can feel the shift. Conversations slow down. Your words carry weight because you're not flooding the space with them. Silence becomes part of your language, and silence forces her to confront her own thoughts instead of leaning on yours. That confrontation is uncomfortable. People don't just fall in love with others, they fall in love with the emotional structure those people provide. If she used your predictability as a cushion, your transformation removes the cushion. Now she's standing on her own nervous system, and it shakes. Here's the part nobody tells you. When she loses control, you gain responsibility. Power without discipline becomes abuse.
If you use unreadability to punish, to dominate, to toy with her fear, you become the very chaos you escaped. Emotional strength isn't about making her small. It's about refusing to shrink yourself to keep her comfortable. There's a difference. One is cruelty, the other is maturity. A man who is unreadable but emotionally available is rare. He doesn't overshare, he doesn't perform. But when he speaks, it's deliberate, honest, grounded. That stability forces respect because it can't be manipulated easily. And respect is the foundation attraction pretends to be. When she realizes she can't steer you with moods, silence, or pressure, she faces a choice. Adapt to your stability or escalate her chaos. Some women lean into growth, others double down on control. Your unreadability exposes which path she chooses. That revelation is the real gift. Because now you're not guessing, you're observing. And observation is power without violence. You stop chasing reassurance. You stop explaining every decision. You stop translating your internal world into something she can manage. You let her experience you as you are, steady, self-governed, emotionally literate, but not emotionally owned. That presence is confronting. It forces her to meet you as an equal, not a manager. If she can't, the relationship cracks. Not because you changed unfairly, but because the old contract was built on imbalance. She controlled the emotional tempo. You provided the energy. Once that dynamic dies, only a real connection survives. Everything else collapses. And that collapse isn't tragedy. It's clarity. Closing your emotional leaks doesn't make you distant. It makes you precise. You choose when to open. You choose when to speak. You choose when to engage. Choice replaces compulsion. And compulsion is what most relationships secretly run on. That's why your unreadability feels dangerous. It ends compulsion. It introduces intention. She loses control not because you're cruel, but because you stopped being automatic. Automatic men are easy to hold. Intentional men must be respected. And respect triggers fear in anyone who relied on predictability as leverage. So if her behavior intensifies when you become unreadable, don't panic. Don't gloat either. Just recognize the moment for what it is. The psychological renegotiation of power. This isn't about winning. It's about standing. Standing in your thoughts. Standing in your emotions. Standing without broadcasting every tremor inside you. The world doesn't need another loud man. It needs a contained one. Because containment is where strength lives. Not in silence for its own sake, but in silence chosen. In words measured. In reactions earned. When she looks at you and can't immediately decode her inner world, she's forced to approach you with curiosity instead of assumption. Curiosity is the beginning of real intimacy. Control is the end of it. And that's the final truth. When you become unreadable, you're not pushing her away. You're inviting her into a deeper level where manipulation can't breathe. If she follows you there, the relationship evolves. If she can't, it was never built to survive your growth. Either way, you win something more important than her approval. You win yourself.